Hello. In this review, we'll be talking about the American program for developing the IFPC Inc.2-I air and missile defense system. The program initially focused on creating the MML, multi-mission launcher, which later became the foundation for the Enduring Shield system. The full name stands for Indirect Fire Protection Capability Increment 2 Intercept and Enduring Shield. To put it simply, it's the American equivalent of Israel's Iron Dome. At the time this video was made, the system was still a promising new air defense platform that hadn't yet entered service. I'll explain what this program is, why the United States needed such a system, what it generally consists of, and what its capabilities are. The video will include references to other air defense systems and missiles, including those that can be used with Enduring Shield, some of which have been reviewed previously on the channel. I'll leave links in the description. Before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and click like. That makes our content better. Let's burn. In various media, the surface-to-air missile system is often referred to by the project name, IFPC Inc.2. For Americans, it's conveniently pronounced, IFPC. Strictly speaking, that's not incorrect, but it's important to understand that the second phase of the Indirect Fire Protection Capability Increment program includes more than just the surface-to-air missile system. In this particular case, the name also includes Intercept, while the launcher itself is called Enduring Shield. The program actually encompasses two other systems as well. The first is IFPC HEL, which stands for High Energy Laser, a 300 kilowatt laser designed to destroy drones. This is a Lockheed Martin project, developed in cooperation with other companies. The second is IFPC HPM, which stands for High Power Microwave. Developed by the company Epirus and named Leonidas, this is a directed energy system that generates powerful microwaves to intercept drones by disrupting their control signals. These two systems won't be reviewed here, since they are part of the broader program but not part of the missile complex itself. The Indirect Fire Protection Capability Increment 1 program began back in 2004. Broadly, it was aimed at creating a mobile short and medium-range air defense system. The goal was to develop both a self-propelled missile air defense system and a self-propelled anti-aircraft gun. In other words, systems capable of destroying low-flying targets at relatively short distances. During that period, work began on various system configurations, mounting launchers for Stinger man-portable air defense systems on armored vehicles like the Stryker, or installing turrets equipped with 30mm cannons. Some of those projects have already been reviewed on the channel. By the 2010s, a new problem emerged. Analysis showed that the US lacked a medium-range surface-to-air missile system. There was a need for something comparable to the MIM-23 Hawk system. In my review of the Hawk, I mentioned that in 1994 it was fully replaced in US service by the MIM-104 Patriot. However, Patriot missiles are expensive, and the system is still a long-range air defense platform. What was needed was something in between, a system to fill the gap between first-echelon air defense units armed with Stinger man-portable air defense systems and the Patriot system. In 2015, a decision was made to launch the development of such a system. It was given the name IFPC Inc.2-I, Indirect Fire Protection Capability Increment 2 Intercept. The goal was to create a wheeled, multi-purpose launcher capable of using a variety of missiles, both existing and future ones, to intercept aerial targets such as drones, artillery shells, mortar rounds, unguided rockets, and subsonic cruise missiles. Later, the plan was to develop a missile capable of intercepting even supersonic cruise missiles. This system, by its intended purpose, was named the Multi-Mission Launcher, shortly MML. It was to have an open architecture, allowing for integration with various missile types, deployment both on wheeled chassis and in stationary installations, and compatibility with different control systems and radar platforms. For the chassis, the military truck Oshkosh Defense M1157 was chosen. It was a proven design, well known for its capabilities, and only needed modifications for the special launcher. The launcher itself was developed by Dynetics. Naturally, the Israeli Iron Dome was already in service at the time, and the US aim was for the new system to similarly be able to destroy relatively low-cost targets using relatively inexpensive missiles. For example, intercepting 240mm mortar rounds, 300mm rockets fired from systems like the Tornado or Smerch, and various types of unguided air-launched rockets. These are targets for which using Patriot missiles would be economically unreasonable. The plan was for the system to be integrated into the Army Integrated Air and Missile Defense Network and the Battle Command System, an open architecture control system for various branches of the military. The proven Sentinel radar, also used with NASAMS, was to be part of the setup. For the 2016 fiscal year, over $100 million was allocated for system development and the creation of the first prototypes. The choice of the interceptor missile was a critical factor. By 2016, the first prototype appeared. It's worth noting that within the project, there was a proposal to base the system on NASAMS and develop a special missile for it. However, the standard AIM-120 AMRAAM missile costs around $1 million, which was considered too high for the intended target set of the new system. The AIM-9X Sidewinder, also used in NASAMS, was even more expensive at around $1.2 million per missile. To illustrate the point, I'll present approximate 2024 missile costs for various air defense systems so you can compare and understand what the US wanted to achieve and why other systems didn't meet the set requirements. A second factor working against NASAMS was its limited missile capacity. It can carry only up to 6 missiles per launcher, while the target for this new system was something more like the Iron Dome, with the ability to carry around 15 to 18 missiles per launcher. For that reason, work continued on the MML, and NASAMS was set aside for this role. The first prototype, completed in 2016, was built on the M1157 truck chassis, with 15 launch rails mounted at the rear, arranged in 3 rows of 5. The radar chosen was Raytheon's ANM-PQ-64F1 Improved Sentinel, a pulse Doppler radar with a phased array antenna, capable of tracking up to 60 targets at a maximum range of 120 kilometers and at altitudes up to 12 kilometers. Initial testing was conducted with the AIM-9X Sidewinder missile, which can intercept airborne targets at ranges of 10 to 15 kilometers. This missile was selected as the first planned interceptor for the MML system. However, its high cost was a major drawback. In 2016, additional funding was allocated to develop a second interceptor missile. Back in 2012, Raytheon had begun work on the Accelerated Improved Interceptor Initiative missile, also known as AI-3, which underwent testing in 2013. Its estimated cost was about half that of an AMRAAM. During trials in 2014, it successfully intercepted 240mm unguided rockets, drones, and even a low-flying cruise missile. AI-3 was considered a strong candidate for use with the MML. Alongside AI-3, 2 other missiles were tested with the multi-mission launcher, the Stinger and the Hellfire. These were also evaluated as possible second interceptors after the Sidewinder. Using them required modifications to the launch containers. The overall concept was to have 5 launch containers for Hellfire, 5 for Stinger, and 5 for Sidewinder, allowing the operator to choose the appropriate missile type depending on the target. In theory, the system could engage up to 15 targets with different missile types. However, there was a clear cost-effectiveness issue. When the target is worth $40,000 or even $20,000, like an unguided air-launched rocket, it's hard to justify firing a $1 million missile at it. A more economical solution was needed. This led, in 2016, to interest in Lockheed Martin's Miniature Hit-to-Kill Missile, also known as MHTK, a small interceptor costing under $20,000, which could potentially meet the system's requirements. That same year, test launches of the MHTK from the MML were conducted. In 2018, Lockheed Martin received government funding to continue MHTK production, but the MML project itself was put on hold. Issues with the reloading process and some limitations in the Sidewinder's performance contributed to the pause. Before that, launches were also carried out using the Skyhunter missile, the American version of the Tamir interceptor used in the Iron Dome, produced by Raytheon. The IFPC Inc.2-I program was essentially forgotten for 3 years. Work resumed in 2021, when the Pentagon announced a competition to develop the Enduring Shield surface-to-air missile system, still within the framework of IFPC Inc.2-I. By that time, Leidos had acquired Dynetics, the original developer of the MML, and their project was the best match for the stated requirements. Let's step back 1 year. In 2020, after it became clear that the MML project was going nowhere, the US purchased 2 Iron Dome air defense batteries from Israel. In 2021, once both batteries had been delivered and their capabilities evaluated, it became clear that the system was not suitable for the assigned tasks. This led to the relaunch of the IFPC Inc.2-I program and the development of Enduring Shield. Another factor working against both NASAMS and the Iron Dome was that the US did not want systems containing numerous foreign-made components. They wanted to avoid dependence on overseas supply chains and, in the case of exports, the need for third-party approval. With NASAMS and Iron Dome, such dependencies were unavoidable. The requirement was for a fully American-made system. Leidos Dynetics significantly redesigned the launcher, launch containers, control systems, and several other components. In 2021, the Pentagon allocated over $200 million for upgrades and delivery of the first prototypes for testing, giving 2.5 years for development with the goal of fielding the new system in 2023. However, supply chain delays and additional modifications required after early testing pushed the timeline back. The launcher still has 15 launch containers and can be deployed on a wheeled chassis, in a stationary position, or mounted on trailers. The primary interceptor remains the AIM-9X Sidewinder. The radar is still the AN/MPQ-64F1 improved Sentinel, capable of detecting artillery shells at ranges up to 15 kilometers and cruise missiles at up to 30 kilometers. The IBCS, Integrated Battle Command System, serves as the battle management system. It includes the command post, communication assets, and other subsystems. IBCS links the air defense battery with other units, collecting, processing, and distributing targeting data. Through IBCS, an enduring shield battery can operate jointly with other air defense units. A battery consists of up to 4 launchers, 1 radar, and 1 command post, providing coverage for an area of about 16 square kilometers. In 2023, the first phase of enduring shield testing began. The next phase, field testing with operational units, didn't start until 2024. That same year, the U.S. Army signed an agreement with Leidos to begin low-rate initial production of the Enduring Shield system, with an order for 18 launchers. Some of these are expected to be delivered to the U.S. by 2026 for further testing, after which deployment to Guam is planned in 2027. The remaining units are scheduled for delivery by 2029. In 2025, the Pentagon allocated funding to develop a second interceptor missile to complement the Sidewinder. This new missile is intended to effectively engage low-flying supersonic cruise missiles. Development is expected to last until 2029-2030, after which low-rate production will begin. As I mentioned at the start, this is still an advanced, in-development air defense system that hasn't completed full testing. It will need additional time, and it's entirely possible that the planned operational dates will be pushed back again for various reasons. Once the system is ready, I'll do another review to show what it can really do in practice and what improvements were made. So, that's the IFPC Inc.2-I program and the MML and Enduring Shield air defense systems. I'm sure this video was both interesting and informative for you. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and click like. That's all from me, wishing you clear skies. Goodbye.